Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael,
And I'm Molly.
and we are here today to talk week 3 of Love Island USA Season 8. We're almost halfway through the season, which is crazy to say, but it's been flying by. Molly, what have your thoughts now? Have they changed at all since a week ago on the season?
Yeah. I feel like as a whole, this season's definitely not the best Love Island seasons that we've had, at least recent years. For USA in particular, I feel like there's just not a ton of excitement happening right now, or like the things that are happening, like it's kind of expected to see like the recouplings and all that. Like nothing that's really total shock factor, which I feel like is fun and part of Love Island. But I feel like overall, the cast is at least somewhat entertaining, even if we don't always like what they're doing and stuff that they say, but we're getting some entertainment. But overall, I feel like I hear people saying they don't really want to continue and they just feel like the season's not that great.
They're gonna continue.
I
People love
know.
to complain. That's our reality TV community. If there's one thing we love more than these shows, it's complaining about these shows.
That's
So
true. But I
yeah,
overall really like it still.
yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying it too. I think the one thing it's missing. I feel like the last two seasons we had that one moment, like the moment of the season, whether it was the Andrea Boot season 6. It was the Huda and Jeremiah being split up in season 7. We haven't had that moment yet in this season that everyone's going to remember. Like when they think of season 8, that's the moment that they think of. Maybe it'll happen during Casa though. Like I think there's a good chance that Casa this season will really make things take it to another level because last season going into Casa, we really didn't have any strong couples because there really weren't like the couples kept shifting and changing and we didn't really have like that those strong couples that we need going into Casa for it to be really fun because we get to see those couples tested. This season we do have that. So I actually think like even though maybe it's led to a little bit slower of a start, it could lead to Casa being really, really good. So that's my
Yeah.
hope.
That's what I'm hoping to is for as well because I feel like with Casa now around the corner, it's bound to cause some drama and shakeups.
Yes. Well, let's get into these couples then and our updates since last week when we spoke. Let's start with Zach and Kata because there's not a ton to talk about with them, but they were the first couple to go to the hideaway. They were voted by the rest of the house, and it seems like they have officially consummated their relationship while they were in there. What did you think of that choice to have them go to the hideaway and everything that we've heard they did while they were in there?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because we knew, like, also they had a conversation that Zach was like, "Oh, we shouldn't go too far physically," and then they go to the hideaway. So obviously that all goes not to plan with
Yeah.
what he said.
What did you think of that? Zach like brought that up multiple times. Like
Yeah.
it feels to me like that is him warning, "Hey, as soon as there's a bombshell, I'm gonna explore it, and just warning you so that way you can't say I didn't."
I know that felt really weird because then obviously that didn't actually happen that way when they were in the hideaway. But I guess overall, you can't totally say you won't ever explore someone because then if you do, then you know it's even going to be even worse of a repercussion than what he's saying now. It's like I guess there's an opportunity, but probably not. Like I don't know. I feel like I don't really see Zach turning his eye at this point.
Oh, I do. A hundred
Really?
percent, I do. I think he
Okay.
will. The second he is in Casa, the second that he wants to do it, and I think he's giving himself an out almost. Like
Mm.
he's building it up so that when he does do that, inevitably he can tell her, "Well, I told you I didn't want to go too far, and you pushed me to do it," and blah blah. Like I just feel like he is like setting the foundation so that once he does it, and maybe like it's a thing where he's not going to just do it for the sake of doing it. But I think if somebody comes in who he is interested in, I think
Okay.
he will not hesitate for 1 second to explore. And he's building that foundation now so that when he does do it, he can turn around when she gets upset and say, "Well, I told you, we shouldn't have went as far as we did."
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Definitely, I think there could be a blow up there that's happened. Also, I mean, I guess we are seeing a little bit of Kata talking to Caleb, but like, I don't really think that's anything that she's trying to explore right now, at least. But I think that is interesting to see like what's gonna happen. Like, it seems like oh, like they now have crossed that boundary. Like, what's like the gonna happen next? But it's obviously there's still a lot of people to come in.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen with Kata and Caleb. I
Yeah,
feel like that's kind of more of a, you know, how we talked about how producers may have encouraged Bryce to go up to Kata. I think it's maybe a
I
similar thing with Caleb, where
yeah.
they want to build that little bit of tension between them, like going into Casa, and like, you know, these stronger couples that they're kind of just want them to have some storyline, something going on that to show, because otherwise there wouldn't have been much with the two of them.
Yeah, I agree. But as of now, there really isn't much drama with Kayla and Zach.
Yeah, yeah. But going, let's make predictions. Let's just go as we're going and make predictions rather than doing them all at the end. Do you think a week from now, after Casa, Zach and Kata will still be together?
Uh, I don't know. I want to say yes, but now I'm contemplating, thinking maybe after what you said, because Zach's like very open to talking to Bombshell. So maybe no. I'll go with yes. I'm going to stick with my yes thought.
I am also going to say yes, but I think it's going to be a rough road to get there. Like, I think they are going to have some issues afterwards. I could see a situation where, like, I could actually see two scenarios. I could see a situation where Zach is kind of the Kendall in Casa and just encouraging other people to be messy, but not actually being messy himself. But then I could also see a world where if somebody comes in who he is interested in, he just kind of goes for it full force, and then afterwards has a tough decision to make and eventually probably goes back to Kata just because they have a longer history. But and I think, like, I feel like Zach is one of those people who almost thinks of it like, oh, this is going to be a great story. Like, I'm going to, you know, we're going to have the struggle and get back together and it's going to be so romantic. So I could see a situation where he likes that, the idea of that, and will go back to Kata just, or try to go back to Kata. Maybe she won't take him back. But I could see that situation where there's some issues to work out, but they do get back together. So I don't know. To me, it's kind of 50-50.
Yeah, no, I could see that both those happening. So we'll have to see.
We will see. Well, let's go into Trinity and Bryce, the other couple that we don't have a ton to talk about this week. They, you know, last week Bryce had the little moment with pulling Kata for a chat, like we mentioned, but this week really they were very steady, and I think that I still kind of have this feeling like they are a relatively strong couple just because they do seem to really like each other, but don't I still struggle a bit to see them staying together, like, till the bitter end. And I think if they can get past this week, I could see it. I see the vision. I still have a little bit of concern that I think that as they're apart for some time and maybe there's a whole bunch of new options, that maybe they don't end up coming back together.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that they will. Now that I'm seeing more of them
I
together,
hope
like
so. I really like them.
I really like them. They're my favorite couple right now, I would say.
Me too. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah.
What are
Well,
your
I think
thoughts?
that they'll at least talk to the different bombshells that are in for Casa, but I don't know if they'll cross any physical boundaries maybe yet. But then, like, so that's why I think that they would just stay together after that. Like,
Mhm.
they would at least like talk to other people, like kind of be tested, I guess, in a way, but then realize that what they have is stronger.
Yeah. I see Trinity 100% staying loyal. I do not think she's going to be tempted. I do not think that she is going to go after anyone else no matter what. Bryce, I don't know. Again, I feel like I'm giving a cop out answer on both of these so far, but like I could
I know
see
there's so
kind of
much to
both
happen.
visions. Yeah, like I could see both worlds with Bryce, like where he does stay totally loyal, and they are kind of the one steady couple that goes in and comes out without any issues.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like with I could see a similar Kata situation where it's like somebody who he's like for the first couple days in there, just kind of like debating in his head, like, do I stay loyal to Trinity? I have a good thing, but I'm also like, am I going to regret it if I don't, really make more of an effort to talk to these bombshells? Like, and then maybe he does, and then has a good conversation, and then kind of struggles. But uh, the more that I talk it through in my head, I think they'll be okay. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to see them together after Casa.
I do too. I really want to see them together because I think they are just like the most adorable, cute couple. And I would love to see them just like at this point on, just be steady all the way to the end. I think that would be really a fun story because all of us day one were like, this is the worst couple. They have no chemistry. Oh my God. They both stood on the red dots and wanted to explore other options and then were forced back together. And wouldn't that be an incredible story that them and Casey and Anaya both, day one, did not choose each other, basically, or chose in Trinity and Bryce, I guess they did, but then they chose to explore and came back together. But Casey and Anaya didn't choose each other day one and were forced together. And those are two of the strongest couples we have now.
Yeah, I know. It's great. It just happened by chance.
Yeah. The other one thing with Trinity and Bryce that we had wasn't directly with them actually, but it was something that Casey said that and I think this was off camera, that Casey told Bryce that he and Anaya and Zach and Kata were the only two couples he felt pretty safe about going into the vote. So this was a conversation that happened after the vote results were read. Okay. That he felt like those were the only two couples that he felt good about, which basically implied indirectly that Trinity and Bryce were the other like strong couple in the villa that he did not think were going to be guaranteed because they had not chosen each other day one or something like that. What was that? What he was implying was the reason why he didn't feel good about them, or was there something else that I missed?
I don't know. I think it was that. It was just he didn't think that they were as strong because they weren't like. I guess they both tried to explore, but then they just came back to each other when it didn't work out with the bombshells. But
that was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was so long ago. I don't know why he would say that because I mean, obviously Trinity and Bryce were safe, but I think as a whole, he's probably just maybe feeling a little bit intimidated by them at this point. Maybe is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a possibility that I feel like a lot of guys this season are really kind of trying to like poke holes in the strong couples and being like, well, you're not exploring enough because you're like, I don't know, it's the whole Ace thing. Like, I feel like Ace just really changed the whole like meta of Love Island, where you have to, if you're not exploring, then you don't deserve to be there, and it's a weird thing. I don't know. And then there's some people who feel the total opposite, which I also think is kind of a weird that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Love Island politics are strange.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. Like, which way do they go?
Yeah, we'll get into the vote when we get to those couples, but yeah, it's kind of a weird, like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, it's a weird fine line that you have to thread on Love Island for people to deem you worthy of being there, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it's just all subjective.
Yeah. But okay, Trinity and Bryce, I guess we both landed on we think they'll still be together in a week.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Then let's get into Anaya and KC. A little bit more to talk about with them this week, starting with the soccer challenge. So Kata and Zach get the question of which player is acting like they already won the league. And they choose KC, with the reasoning that he didn't explore things with Soul because it was safer to stay with Anaya. So that kind of made Anaya get a little bit worried that she was potentially limiting Casey's experience by him feeling like he can't explore other options that he wants to because he has a good thing going with Anaya. What did you think about this? Like, did Anaya overthink this, or was she valid in having those concerns?
I think it was valid to an extent. Like, I don't think, obviously, hearing that is going to be nice. Like, oh, it's like, oh, he thinks I'm the safe option. Like, I don't want that. So I think in general it made sense she was upset, but I think then like kind of shutting off in times like maybe it was a little bit overreaction to it because Casey didn't mean that, or I mean he didn't say it. It was someone else saying it on behalf of him. But I think he is just maybe was scared somewhat to explore, but Anaya never actually said don't explore. So I think it was just a little bit of a misunderstanding there between the two of them. And I mean, obviously they've worked it out now. But I think it was a good conversation for them to have, at least to acknowledge that and move forward from it.
Yeah, I think you have to have the conversation. I think Anaya was totally valid in having that concern after hearing that. Like I think anyone would
Yeah.
when you kind of hear it's like, oh, are all the guys talking about this and just leaving me out and I have no idea. And Casey's confiding in his guys all these issues that he's not bringing to my attention over concerns that I'm gonna overreact or get upset or it's going to blow everything up. And so it's important that you have that conversation directly and ask directly, and then you can move on and you don't have to have that holding over your head the whole time you're here. After this, Casey pulls Soul for a chat, which starts to make Anaya feel a little bit even more insecure about things now that she's seeing the two of them talk after having this conversation with Casey about this. And so she interrupts their conversation and wants to talk to Casey in private. And she tells him that she wants to have a serious conversation, which makes him laugh. And that is really the thing I think that made Anaya kind of put her over the edge, is that she wanted to have the serious conversation and he was unable to take it seriously. Now, this part of it, do you think that Anaya was valid in being upset about this?
Yeah, I think so because she wanted to get at least conversation from him, and he wasn't really able to communicate that. Like maybe laughter was more of his form of like, oh, I don't like he didn't know what to say, so he was just trying to like do something that could deter the situation from talking about it. But I don't know. I think he definitely didn't do the right thing in that moment.
Yeah, I think that it it's clearly like that is just Casey. Like I think Casey
Yeah.
kind of laughs and gets jokey in awkward situations, and
Yeah.
so I think I completely understand Anaya getting upset and being like, "Hey, can you just be serious for 5 minutes?" Like it's not that hard. We need to be able to have serious conversations if we want to have a real relationship. So I completely understand that. I also don't think Casey did it intentionally. Like I think
Same.
that it's just like that's who he is and that's how he acts and kind of like protects himself in awkward situations is just by laughing and making a joke out of it because he's uncomfortable having that type of conversation. And I was glad though that after they read the letters to each other at the recoupling that seemed to hearing them read those letters to each other, I think in both of their situations made everything go away. And it just like was like, okay, we need to reset, we need to restart. Like we love each other and are having we had to get through this little hump to get to a better place, but now hearing our true feelings about each other just it puts that all aside and we can get back to a good place.
Yeah, I agree. It was sweet to see them reading those letters, and I feel like that really just helped them move forward and kind of mend whatever happened in the past couple of days.
Yeah. And that's why I think like a lot of people I feel like were like, oh, this is such a boring recoupling. It was so long and it was too sappy and whatever. But I actually think like it was helpful for a lot of these couples. And so I actually like I liked it in that sense. Like, yeah, maybe we could have shortened it a little bit, like for our viewing experience. But in terms of just like being kind of a healing reset for a lot of these couples, I feel like the way that they did this was actually really good for them. And I don't know without that, if it was just a normal recoupling, like I wonder if Anaya and Casey would have gotten back to that place, or at least as quickly as they did.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about it like that, but I think it's very plausible that that's why they wanted to do something like more sentimental in that way, so they could repair those before Casa happens.
Right, because you want, like, for the best Love Island experience, you want these couples being in a really strong, good place going into Casa, because you want those reactions coming out of it where they're like, we were so good. What happened? Whereas I think if you get these couples that are in a bad place, yeah, you're going to get more like cheating. You're going to get more like maybe hookups with the Casa uh, bombshells, but you're not going to get as much of a reaction afterwards because they're going to be like, yeah, we weren't in a good place. So it's
Yeah,
understandable.
agreed.
So then we kind of end, though, unfortunately, with an INKC where they're having a little bit of another situation because there were so in the next challenge, the fairy tale challenge, there was another situation where KC gets to be the answer for a question that makes it actually it made other people question Anaya and Casey's relationship more than like Anaya actually didn't have much of a reaction to this one. She was just like kind of frustrated that this keeps happening, but she was like, "I'm going to talk to Casey and I'm not going to overthink it until we have that conversation." But it kind of made other people question like, is Anaya good with Casey? Is she going to be upset about this? Blah blah blah. And I think even Casey maybe thought that Anaya would be upset about it, but she really wasn't until Trinity tells her that Casey was the only boy, or one of the only ones. I can't remember if she said like the only, but
I think
who
she
was
said it was the
pushing.
only.
She did say that. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I had in my notes, but then I started questioning it. Like,
Yeah.
did it was that a? But that she said that Casey was the only boy who was pushing against sending Soul home. So this kind of made Anaya feel like, well, if he wasn't planning to continue exploring things with her, why would he be upset or that upset with her going home? Why would he be pushing against that? So what do you think is going to happen here? We kind of end off with a cliffhanger, but what do you think Anaya is going to do with this information?
Yeah, well, I definitely think she's gonna talk to KC about it. When I saw that happen in the episode, I felt like it almost was another thing that maybe the producers had like asked Trinity, like, "Oh, did you know KC was trying to get like see if Soul could stay?" Like said maybe something in like that kind of way, and then Trinity thought to bring it up. Like I feel like it wasn't like totally serious, and that like KC was like pushing hard to save Soul. Like I think he was just like, oh, she hasn't gotten a fair chance because since Sincere had obviously still been involved in with Melanie in some way. I mean, not involved, but like still have feelings there.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it was more related to that than related to Casey trying to explore Soul.
Yeah, I think that this seemed to upset her more than the challenge stuff. But I hope that she won't overthink this too much because I think that this was more so. I really actually don't think that Casey wanted to continue exploring Soul. I think he just kind of felt bad.
Yeah.
Like I think that he knew like, he had talked to Soul. He knew kind of how she was feeling about her experience in the villa, and I think just probably wanted her to have more chance. Like wanted more bombshells to come in and give Soul a fair chance, kind of like the girls were feeling with Caleb. Is that like kind of got the short end of the stick, and I think that Casey just felt for her and wanted her to have another chance to potentially be in have conversations with people that aren't already locked down. And I think that hopefully he can explain that to Anaya and that she'll believe that and they'll be able to get over this quickly because I really don't think this is anything that should be a big hurdle in their relationship.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like it was just like a slight thought that obviously could upset her, but it won't really continue and to affect their relationship.
Yeah. Well, predictions a week from today. Will they still be together?
I'm gonna say yes. I want to see them still together, and I think they have proven to be a strong couple so far. So it's gonna be interesting to see, like with Casa, what's gonna happen. But I can see them still being together.
I agree. I think that they will absolutely still be together. I don't think that either of them will have like a serious connection with anybody that would really threaten their relationship. I could be wrong. Maybe either of them will. Maybe both will. I don't know. But I don't, as of right now, see that happening.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, then let's move on to Kenzie and Corbin plus Caleb. So Kenzie was coupled up with Caleb by America's vote at the last recoupling. That is where we left off last week. And she was willing to explore the connection, but had a couple of concerns, mostly with his age and balancing her connection with Corbin as well. So last week we kind of talked about how it didn't feel like Kenzie, at least I felt like this, didn't really have as much of a connection with Caleb as maybe she thought she was going to, or was maybe just not having great conversations with him. And then now that they were coupled up together, she kind of I felt pressure, I guess, to explore that more so. But did you at any point think that they were going to really get serious about their connection and that she was going to be able to kind of push Corbin aside?
Well, after the first episode we got after this recoupling, I kind of had a feeling, no, she's gonna go right back to Corbin because of how much she was like in the corner with him, just wanting to touch him, kiss him, like all of that stuff. That it just felt like she wasn't gonna really give Caleb a fair shot. At least because she had just had so many feelings still that weren't her choice to recouple. Also, so I feel like with that, it really put a toll on her exploring more with Caleb because even if she didn't really initially feel that, like she could have tried, but Corbin was still there. And so I think that was the back of her head the whole time, where she knew Corbin was still there and she wanted to be still with him, like at the end of the day. So I think it was doomed for Caleb from the start.
Yeah, I agree. I never once felt like that she was going to be able to just fully go all in on Caleb and was going to let Corbin be with Melanie or whoever else. Like I never once had that feeling. Like I just felt like every time she was talking with Caleb, you could tell like she wished it was Corbin and she just missed being with him. And I don't know. I guess she's a classic Gen Z that loves using AI. And she can't, she's reliant on it. And I feel like she just always just had this connection with Corbin that she it was undeniable. And you could just see the difference when she was talking with Corbin versus Caleb, that she was just so googly eyed, like so into Corbin, and just never was able to get herself to feel that way about Caleb. But I wonder if like if it had been reversed and Caleb had come in the villa before Corbin and she was able to fully like just be 100% in on Caleb first and then Corbin came in, I wonder if that had been reversed. I wonder if she would have felt the same way.
That's interesting. I feel like I don't know because it's all based on like recency and timing of everything too. So I don't know how her development of the relationship with Caleb could have grown, or if it would have also still kind of been stagnant and she felt like he was too young. But I don't know. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that it would have given Caleb a better shot for sure because they
Yeah.
would have at least had a couple days to just like fully be 100% in on each other and not have Corbin kind of in the background. And I don't know though. I still feel like she is just so like physically attracted to Corbin that I think it probably she would have gone that direction either way.
I agree.
Well, then we get so Kenzie and Corbin kiss in soul ties, which she does tell Caleb about that, but they kiss again the next night, which they agree to keep a secret to avoid blowing things up with their respective couples. And now it doesn't stay a secret because Kenzie the next morning immediately tells Jen. But what did you think about this kind of going behind their couples' backs and continuing to have a kind of secret little relationship there? Do you think there's anything wrong with them doing that?
I mean, I think it's better to be honest about what's happening, but if it's gonna be such a blow up thing to cause like for your couple to know, then I guess it makes sense. I mean, things are gonna be shown obviously with movie day or whatever, movie night. Like I feel like things are gonna come up, so nothing's ever secret. Everything's being filmed, so
Hmm.
they know that's gonna be the case. They just didn't want to cause the drama in that moment, which I guess it kind of makes sense, but also like it just goes to show again that they just really didn't care about the other couples that they were in, and they just wanted to be together.
Yeah, I mean, I was glad that they eventually, like, just very shortly after that, got coupled up together again because, like, now it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Like, nobody cares anymore about what they were doing for the one day that they weren't coupled up because it's like, okay, we ended up. Like, it wasn't like I think if Kenzie had ended up going with Caleb after all that, and they were continued to be coupled up together and really tried to make it work, then there would have been something to show a movie night to be like, hey, remember when we were and still already in a couple and you were behind my back doing this? So
yeah,
I think then there would have been more of an issue, but it's like, okay, whatever, I guess. Like they ended up being together anyways, so who cares?
yeah, exactly.
Then at the recoupling, so we already talked about this a bit, but Corbin and Caleb both write letters to Kenzie. Kenzie's letter is to Corbin, making them a couple again. And then Caleb is coupled up with Soul by default. I'm curious your thoughts. What did you think about them forcing Caleb and Soul into a couple? Do you think that they should have just left them single? Do you think they should have brought in new bombshells? Or was this the best way to do it?
I thought they should have left them single because I feel like we never even saw them talking to each other in the first place. So I just kind of felt like, all right, now you're in a couple together, like you have to be. But I wish they did bring in some new bombshells. Like I feel like we needed some new energy in the villa this
Hmm.
week.
Do you think they should have just eliminated them?
Or yeah, I was thinking that was also a possibility, but maybe they didn't want to do it that night. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. It was weird because we were going straight into a vote.
Yeah,
And now it's like, okay, this couple who has not said three words to each other,
yeah,
basically, you're now voting as your favorite couple. Like, I think that at least if there had been, like, okay, you couple them up together, give them, like, a day or two of us seeing them to see, like, is there a connection there? Is there potential? Whereas it was just kind of like, okay, you're a couple, and now you're up against all these other couples that have had weeks for us to get invested in them as a couple. And it just kind of put them in a situation where, like, yeah, of course they're going to be in the bottom three because we haven't seen them together when we were voting. Like,
yeah.
so I just think it was a little bit weird. I don't know what they would have done differently, but I don't know. I've seen people saying, like, should they have been immune from the vote? Like, should they have, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's other things that they could have done to make it a little bit more fair because it just felt like that was a spot that, there were people who were voting for them just to kind of spite all the other couples and to make sure that they get to Casa because they've both have been kind of screwed over. But I don't think it was ever going to be enough to actually get them in the top four.
Yeah, I agree. I felt bad. I think they were already like they knew inevitably they would be in the bottom after that. And then you found out which like it was the top couples. Like obviously they weren't even a couple. So there's really
Right.
it's hard to be top when you're not a couple.
Yeah. Well, then they were, of course, in the bottom three. But actually, sorry, we're not talking about Caleb and Soul anymore. Kenzie and Corbin were in the bottom three of America's vote. What did you think about them being in the bottom three? Did that surprise you?
I don't think it surprised me. I think people were just annoyed with Kenzie always like kind of doing the back and forth with Caleb and Corbin, but not really putting much effort into Caleb and showing that like she could switch up on someone. But then Corbin and Kenzie obviously had that strong tie to each other, so they wanted to be back together. But I think people were just overall like, oh, we don't want to see them continue, maybe.
I think people really were upset with Kenzie. I saw
Yeah.
so many viewers being really mad at how Kenzie was handling things with Corbin and Caleb. And that she is kind of, I think people were like, she's very hypocritical in the way that she was going about things, that she was so upset with Zach day one and wouldn't talk to him for days after that. I don't know. Have they spoken since then? I don't even know.
No.
But she was so upset about that. And then look at how she's moving in the villa now and is, stringing these two guys along. And so I think people just kind of felt like it was a bit hypocritical of her, and they were a bit upset about that. And I don't think that Corbin is necessarily the most popular person either of the viewers. I don't know. AI is very controversial these days. So, is he using up too much water? Is he good for the environment? I don't know. But I think people were kind of not loving either of them, so I was not shocked to see that they were in the bottom three.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, but they were saved by the other Islanders, so both Kenzie and Corbin are remaining in the villa, but Caleb then pulls Kata for a chat the next day, and he's encouraged by Zach no, sorry, not by Zach. He's encouraged by Sincere to do this. Now, this is where I do think that Sincere is using his evil powers for good. Where in the past he has been using them to gaslight women, but now he is using it to save Kata from Zax, which I approve of.
I agree. I feel like it's worthwhile. I mean, Caleb's single right now. Like, he needs to talk to people. Like, he should talk to Kata.
Yeah, I liked that we saw this because I kind of felt like, okay, where's Caleb gonna go now? Like, is anyone, until Casa, is anyone going to really give him the time of day? But I was glad at least that, they kissed in the challenge and it seemed to be a good kiss. And Kata mentions like he could pull me for a chat. And he does. And was this encouraged by producers? Were producers at least encouraging Sincere to encourage Caleb to do it? Maybe. But at least this time it was somebody who Kata seemed to be a little bit more willing to have that conversation with versus Bryce, who she clearly very quickly friend zoned. So, I don't know if anything's going to happen there, but I was at least happy to see them give it a chance.
I agree. I think it made sense to at least have them talk, and they did kiss in the challenge, so there could be something there. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know, because I feel like, okay, we're only like a day or two away from Casa. Like, I don't think there's enough time for them to really build anything. It kind of similar to how I felt with like Andrina and Jeremiah last season, where it was right before Casa that Andrina came in, and it seemed like there was kind of a good thing going between Andrina and Jeremiah. And I was really like, kind of like, okay, there's something here that maybe can pull Jeremiah away from Huda finally. But then Casa happened like the next day, and it just kind of ruined any momentum that had. So I kind of, at least this time, we haven't had any bombshells come in right before Casa. Maybe that's why, because they knew like, okay, it kind of screws them over a bit. But it kind of gave that same energy of like, it's kind of pointless to really explore this now, because we're about to, like, next episode, pull everybody apart.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, let's make predictions for Kenzie and Corbin. Are they going to be together in a week?
I'm gonna say yes.
Ugh. This is tough.
I know.
I think I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I think Kenzie, I don't know. I feel like Corbin is going to kind of stay. I don't know, he'll explore, but I kind of feel like he might come back and still want to go back to Kenzie. I think Kenzie could very easily find somebody, and with some time apart from Corbin, I think that she'll kind of be more willing to like kind of put him in the rearview mirror. And if she finds somebody else who she's really attracted to, I don't think she's going to hesitate to really go for it. And maybe once she's back with Corbin, she'll kind of like be reminded of how much she's into him and will want to go back to him afterwards. But I think that Kenzie is going to have a good time in Casa.
Yeah, I can see that, but I do think she'll end up with Corbin back in the villa.
The only thing that now I'm thinking about it, I wonder if the America's vote result is going to maybe make her think twice about doing that. Because
Oh,
we kind of saw her like in the last episode where who was it that she was having a conversation with that was it was Corbin that
Corbin.
was telling her
Yeah.
that like, oh, the guys kind of felt the same way about you that y'all did that the girls did about Gabe. Where it was kind of what's the word that he used? Not
Sensual.
promiscuous. No, it
Sensual.
was no.
Or,
I don't remember the
I
word
was,
that they used, but it was something to that effect
yeah.
of like that you're just kind of lustful. Lustful. That was the
Lustful,
word.
lustful.
That and that really seemed to get to Kenzie. So I wonder if now that she kind of knows that maybe there's the perception of her out there and that maybe she's thinking that's why America put her in the bottom, that it will prevent her from doing too much at Casa.
Yeah, that could be.
I don't know,
Good
but we will see.
analysis there.
And then do you think Caleb's going to find a good connection in Casa?
I hope so. I think he deserves it. So I'm excited to see who Caleb gets to talk to in Casa.
I am too. I don't know if, who knows if he's going to find anything serious, but I'm glad at least he will get the opportunity to do that.
I agree.
Well, then let's move over to Jen and Gabe. So they're coupled up after America's vote, and they quickly form a very strong physical connection. So Trinity and Kata are kind of during their first conversation after being coupled up. Trinity and Kata are watching from afar, and they're kind of like, I don't know, they're a weird match. Like, I don't know that I see them together. But then they just start making out, and they're like, whoa, okay, I guess they have a connection. And then, very quickly, like, Gabe tells the two of them that he could see himself dating Jen outside the villa. What did you think about their immediate connection?
Well, I think it's interesting that like it happened so quickly, but I think because they also had at least a couple conversations, we probably didn't see all of them, that it kind of seemed, I guess, a little bit more seamless for them to form as a couple, and then especially because Bayo wasn't even there anymore, it kind of made it so
Mm-hmm.
okay. Gabe knew he had to go full in, like try to build up the couple again, like with someone new, and so I think because of that, he was like used to like cuddling and kissing and like all those things that he just wanted to continue, and so now his couple with Jen like wanted to show her that affection, and just like continue in that kind of way. But it did seem like they had good conversations too. But I definitely did not see them lasting outside of the villa.
No, I never once saw them lasting outside the villa. Like, I think they had a good. It's like they were in lust, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, and not. I don't think there was really anything like deep serious between them. Maybe they did have more deeper conversations than they showed us, But I felt like okay, like when they were talking about, oh, we have so much in common, like we both like working out and we both like I don't know, it just felt like such like surface level things that they have in common that like I don't know. It was nice. It was good for the time. I just don't think it was anything like they weren't tearing away two people that were going to get married in a year. Like,
Yeah.
it was a good they had a good connection, but I really didn't see the deep uh I don't think they were going to be anything too serious in here, but then they were in the bottom three of America's vote, which made them vulnerable, and the girls agreed to send Gabrielle home because they feel like he is just always going to look for what's next and hook up with whatever bombshells came in. Do you agree with them about that?
I think so. I think he would have totally been kissing as many of the Casa girls as he could, and all of that. So I think it was a fair assumption from the girls.
Yeah, the guys were not happy about it. They did not agree with that decision, but I don't know. I think it's kind of a very tricky thing with these votes that we saw last season again, and we saw the season before too with the Andrea vote. I mean, it feels like every time the guys and girls can't agree with what criteria to use for a vote. And it's so interesting to me because I feel like I could see where they're coming from for sure. Because, you want to give someone like Caleb a fair chance. And I think that they just really felt bad for him that he hadn't had that opportunity. Like he had just recently come in as a bombshell. And everyone at that point was kind of coupled up, like with that soul experience, that there was only Sincere was the only guy who came up to her and gave her a chance. And I kind of feel like the same thing was with Caleb, and really Kenzie was like they kind of really pushed her on him because he was on paper her type, and so they wanted him to be able to have that chance, whereas Gabrielle did have a chance and he moved on so quickly from Bea that I think that it made them question him a little bit as to like how was he able to do that. Like he must have not really had as deep of a connection with Bea as we thought he did. And so now they felt like he had just so quickly moved on to Jen and that he was going to do the same thing to her as soon as someone came in or in Casa, and he was just going to forget she ever existed. I was really mad at the guys because it felt like they were so judgy and so like superiority complex towards the girls of like our criteria is the only correct one and y'all's is bad and wrong because it's different. But like I understand them being upset because that's he's their friend. I just don't I think they can use whatever criteria they want to vote
Yeah,
someone out.
I know there's not a strict rule book on who you can vote out, so it's just who you feel. And they felt like Caleb didn't get the fair shot of actually exploring, so they wanted him to stay in and not have to leave right away. So I think it made sense in their decision.
Yeah. Let's move on then to Melanie and Sincere plus Soul. I mean, that's our main event, of course, every week. So Melanie and Sincere were split up by America's vote at the last recoupling. So Melanie was now with Corbin, Sincere with Soul. Melanie sleeps in Soul ties that night after finding out that Sincere and Soul kissed again after being coupled up. Now, did you think? Okay, let's just kind of stop there. Did you think that they were going to be able to move on in their new relationships? Or did you get the feeling that Sincere and Melanie would eventually find their way back to each other at this point?
Well, in this moment, it seemed that Sincere and Soul would continue and that Melanie would just remain single or she wasn't going to stay with Corbin because it obviously didn't seem that she was trying for that to happen. So I think like she was trying to tell herself, "Oh, I can explore," and then like you called this last week that she'd just be too emotional and not really explore anything, and then Corbin wouldn't really try because he'd be like, "Okay, I'm over the you trying to figure out what's over with like that's over, or maybe not over, but leaving the couple with Sincere." So I don't know. I just didn't have such high hopes earlier in the week, but like as the week went on, obviously things changed. But Sincere and Soul seemed to have a connection, which was forming, and it seemed to be good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really thought that Sincere was going to kind of just be fully with Soul now. He's coupled up with her. He got his wish and is now just able to fully explore that. What I didn't I think I underestimated his ability to just completely be messy and gaslight though, because then Soul feels really good about it. She feels like they have a strong thing, like a good thing going. But Sincere and Melanie then have a talk. I don't know if it was that night or the next night, but they were in the speakeasy, and he tells her that he misses her. He thinks about her all the time. And at that point, I knew, okay, he's going to eventually, like, he's just attracted to the toxicity, I guess. They both are, I
I
think.
know. It was crazy to hear them say that. I was like, wait, what? Like, that took a 180. I wasn't expecting you to say that. But I mean, happy for Melanie if that's what she wants.
And it is what she wants because then we get to the recoupling, and Melanie and Soul both write letters to Sincere. Writes his to Melanie, making them a couple again. When Soul is then coupled with Caleb by default, as we talked about. So, did you expect Sincere to write his letter to Melanie, or did you think that he was going to write it to Soul?
As the they were reading letters to Sincere, I kind of had a feeling Sincere was gonna write it to Melanie, but in the week, like I thought maybe it was he was gonna stick with Soul, but I think just because of the history that him and Melanie had, that he was gonna want to recouple with her.
Yeah, I think I expected it because it kind of mostly because of the editing of the episode where it felt like we were getting a lot of Soul and like saying like, oh, I feel good about things, like, yeah, I feel like we're in a good place and blah blah, blah. And it kind of felt like, oh, we're heading towards Soul to be blindsided and just be left out, and that Sincere and Melanie would go off and live toxically ever after.
Exactly. I know. I really felt for Soul here because she obviously really trusted Sincere and thought that their couple was strong, but he blindsided her.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Soul feels stupid. And she is like, I can't believe I believed Sincere. And he was telling me everything I want to hear. And he is a liar. And she confronts him about this. She calls him dishonest and two faced. And oh my God, this conversation made my blood boil. I hated this so much because it felt like then he was like, well, she was cursing at me and all this stuff. And it's like, no, like I mean, she was saying curse words, but she wasn't like just screaming at him. She wasn't like cursing at him. And it felt like, and then he was like, well, you're no angel. It's like, what did she do?
Yeah,
What the
literally.
hell
What
did
did
she do
she
to
do?
you?
Nothing.
She was an angel. I
Yeah.
mean, like, truly, like, name one thing that she did to you. You did everything to her. And it's just like putting the blame on her somehow with this. It's like, oh my God, I feel for Melanie because she is going to be hurt time and time again by him. And until she is able to fully, like, look at this from a bird's eye view and I think that she's going to continue to go back to him, and it's just she's going to have to learn on her own and get to the place where she's fully and completely over him. And I hope that comes sooner than later.
Yeah. I know. I can definitely see Sincere trying to explore in Casa.
Yeah, let's. Well, before we get to that, one second.
Yeah.
So Soul and Caleb are in the bottom three of America's vote, and Caleb is saved by the other girls, but Soul is sent home by the boys. What did you think of the boys' decision to send Soul home?
I mean, I think that was expected because I don't know, it just seemed that they would not send Jen home because they didn't know who the guy was going to be. So they knew that Jen and Gabe were still together. So, like, they wanted to keep Jen for that reason. And then obviously they weren't going to say, well, actually, maybe they were going to send Kenzie because she was doing the, like, playing Caleb too. But I think overall, Soul was just the easy answer there for them.
Yeah, I just hated that Sincere was the one to do it and was
Same.
such like in the driver's seat because it's clear why he wants to send Soul home. He wants to just, have Melanie all to himself and not have Soul like talk to Melanie and convince her that he's a lying piece of crap and that she should leave him. And he doesn't want her to tell her, like, he doesn't want them to talk because then they'll be able to compare notes and see all the things that he was telling Soul and all the stuff he was filling her head with to make her feel comfortable and stay. And then, Melanie will potentially see a different side of him and leave him. And he wants to prevent that from being able to happen. And so it's clear why he took the lead and wanted her sent home. And then he got to be the one to say it and send her. Ugh, it just like, it really made me mad.
I know. I agree. I was like, no. When I saw him stand up, I felt like instantly it was gonna be bad. I was like, oh no, what's he gonna say?
Yeah. Well, then let's get to what you're saying. Melanie and Sincere in a week. Will they still be together?
I don't think so. I, or maybe they'll get back together, but they'll be
Yeah.
rocky.
I think we're gonna have a Kayla and Aaron situation where I think like she is going to see things, whether they have like get a text on their phone usually, right, where they get a clip from what's going on the other side. And I think she's going to see something with Sincere with a girl, and Melanie is going to have she's going to get emotional about it. I don't want to say she's going to break down or anything, but I don't want to, I think she'll she will she will get emotional and be upset about it and say that she's never going to go back to him, and then she will then not have a day or two where they're broken up afterwards, and he's going to want to go back to her, and then eventually she'll take him back, and we will go through this whole process again.
Yeah, I can see that happening. It definitely seems like the cycle they're bound to see.
Yep. All right. Well, is there anything else, Molly, that you wanted to bring up from this week before we close out here?
I think we covered it all. Nothing that I can think of top of mind, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with Casa.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. I know they're showing it in theaters, so I am excited to hear people's experiences who are going to see that. And I'm excited. We get a new After Sun tonight, which I thought the first week of After Sun was actually really great. I loved the new version of it. I love seeing them get their phones back after being eliminated, and
Yeah,
I thought Sierra and Tuffy did great. It's a more like kind of serious, like podcasty vibe versus all the kind of like weird fun segments that they used to have, which were fun every once in a while, but I think got old quick. And this was a little bit more of a little bit of a serious vibe, which I thought was good because I thought we got more out of it than we did in the past.
I agree. I like that for Sun as well, so I definitely want to watch the following ones as well because I think there's more to see with them obviously getting their phones and all that, which was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you guys so much for listening or watching on YouTube. And be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media at Let's Chat Reality. And rate us 5 stars on wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate that, of course. And we will chat with y'all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.